TikTok, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. It's your friendly neighborhood philosopher, D. Wood here. I wasn't even planning on going live, but I got a request. Last night, in the middle of the night, someone was pointing out that the mighty Shaun King has converted to Islam. Shaun King has converted to Islam. And so someone wanted my thoughts on that. And it wasn't like 5 minutes later, I was in the comments section on YouTube, and a lovely Muslim started saying, aha, well, if you doubt Islam, how do you explain Shaun King, prominent speaker Shaun King, reverting to Islam? And so I was like, gosh, might as well respond to this. This is not difficult, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, the message I got requesting some comments on this was along the lines of, hey, here's an easy one, David. Here's an easy one. So, do you guys know who Shaun King is? I find that people who have been active in certain areas of things that are going on in the culture know who Shaun King is, and other people don't. Well, yeah, hang on. I'm getting the comments. Yeah, we're getting the Talcum X. We're getting the Talcum X. And Jeff Sloat says Talcum X is a Muslim now. Yes, that is correct. He's known by many, many names. Talcum X is the one that took off because he was an activist mainly on race issues, and he claimed for years to be black. And then it got brought up, hey, wait a minute, we checked your records, both your parents are white. Both your parents are white, and you're a pretty white-looking dude. The only thing he's got going for him, he's got a very short haircut, and he cuts his mustache in a certain way. But apart from that, that dude's skin is probably whiter than I am. And so he actually responded to that. He eventually responded and said, after he was being called out for a while, saying, dude, both your parents are white. It's on your birth certificate. You're the whitest person in the world. You just cut your hair in a certain way and cut your mustache in a certain way. And that's all you got going for you. And so he finally responded that it turns out his mother had, according to him, he claims that his mother had told him that she'd had an affair with a black guy, and that was his real dad. And his white dad that he grew up with and was on his, listed as his parent and so on, was actually not really his dad. And so he was indeed black. He was indeed half black, according to him. And anyway, so this guy's been going on for quite a while. And it's interesting because most people seem to know him and understand him as a scam artist, And it's interesting, even looking at lots of the Muslim reactions, on Twitter. There are even lots of Muslims who are like, guys, please don't fall for this. Yeah, we see here. So these are from a few minutes ago. But King is a grifter. Jordy Robinson says a grifter. Black Angel says a fraudster. Kerfer says he's a criminal who hasn't been locked up. We have more with the Talcum X. So if you're from a different country, you might not know Malcolm X, but Malcolm X, famous black activist in the 1960s. Talcum is talcum powder. It's a white powder, so they call him Talcum X. And let's see. Shaun Grift Shift King. Yep. He's 0.5% of every race. Talcum X. Professional fake black man. The rapper? No, I don't know. Never heard of him rapping. Wouldn't surprise me. Talcum X, biggest clown. Yeah, so we've got a lot of this. We've got a lot of I'm not going to put some of these up. But yeah, so people seem to understand who Shaun King is. We're just going to go through this a bit. Just so everyone knows where to go for some information on him. In case this becomes the new argument, we are going to go through some of his new names. So again, in the past, he's had all kinds of names. Talcum X is the one that took off. There mostly plays on him being a white guy. But now he's got the Islamic version. So we're going to take a few looks at some of those new alternative names. All right, but let me go ahead and let me just pull up an article about him or something. Maybe we'll pull some up off on the screen. So Jeffrey Shaun King is an American writer and activist. King uses social media to promote causes of social justice, particularly Black Lives Matter in the United States. Raised in Kentucky, received his undergraduate degree from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's where he got the Oprah Winfrey Scholarship, which is interesting because he has really, really, really white parents. So born in Kentucky, let's see. King has stated that he was the victim of racism and hate crimes while growing up in Kentucky. So he was attacked for, even though he looks really, really white, especially if you look at his pictures when he was a kid. Even though he looks really, really white, he was a victim of racial hate crimes when he was a kid. He told reporters about a time that a pickup full of youths attempted to run him over with the vehicle on school property. So these young guys in a pickup truck running him down, screaming, "This MAGA country, Shaun, this MAGA country here." King recalls that after reporting the incident to school authorities, the youths were protected rather than punished. So he's got all these rednecks going after him, attempting to run him over, but they were white, so they got protected. King later said that a second assault occurred, wherein a dozen self-described rednecks beat him. So these guys are, "Hey, we're rednecks. We're rednecks, Shaun. And even though you look really white, and even though both your parents are white, we know that your real dad was black, because many, many years from now in the future, you're going to finally announce it after people keep pointing out that you're actually white. You're going to point it out in the future, and we know what you're going to point out, so we know you're secretly half black, and we're going to get you." So that's what happened. So King later said that a second assault occurred wherein a dozen self-described rednecks beat him and claimed the injuries caused him to miss a portion of 2 years of high school due to multiple spinal surgeries. So they must have beat him pretty bad. King characterized the assault as a racially motivated hate crime. In 2015, media outlets questioned King's account of the assault, and citing interviews with the investigating detective, Keith Broughton, and police reports on the case, characterized the fight as a one-on-one between King and another boy over a girl, where King sustained minor injuries. Broughton reportedly interviewed multiple witnesses, including a teacher who broke up the fight. But you do have later on, Shaun King actually rallied. He got 2 students, his wife, and a band teacher who all agreed with him. They agreed with him. So we don't actually know what happened. Let me go ahead and pull up this New York Times article real quick. We're not going to read. We'll just read the beginning here to get an idea. This is going to be an introduction to Shaun King. And guys, keep in mind, this live stream is not really about Shaun King. It's about this bigger problem that's going on in the world of Dawa. Namely, you've got The avalanche of apostasy. Islam is crumbling from within. This is sending lots of Dawa guys and so on into an absolute panic mode. And like someone who's like drowning in a storm, they're just clinging to anything. They're just clinging to anything. And this is the latest example of what they're clinging to. So this is the latest example of what they're clinging to. So the big ones in recent times have been Andrew Tate, sex trafficker, webcam pimp, accused of rape. But you've got Andrew Tate, who his entire life has been a scam. Well, I mean, he did actually put a lot of work into becoming a kickboxer. So that was actually a lot of work. But he concluded he was not making enough money from that. And if you listen to his own explanations of what he did, he's basically a lifelong scam artist. So first he decided he was going to dupe women into doing porn for him, and he'll get money from them. And then when he's talking about the guys he was duping, using the girls, so he's using these hot girls to dupe guys. You guys have seen the video where he's bragging about guys that are like selling their houses or taking out mortgages on their houses to send girls money, but the money's actually going to Andrew Tate. So notice he scammed the girls and then was scamming the guys. And then he decided to go global with his training on how everyone else could do this, but he's scamming all those guys too. In other words, he's scamming all these 17, 18-year-olds who are signing up for his PhD program, thinking that they're all going to become pimps too. He knew it. He knew he's dealing with a bunch of losers who think that they're going to be like Top G when they're not. Why? Because they're different people, right? Andrew Tate, like him or not, he's got certain qualities that allowed him to do what he do. It's similar to hang on. Still got a bit of a cold. But it's similar to like, you have people who tried to learn Jeet Kune Do because that's what Bruce Lee did. You don't realize you're not going to be able to do it like him because he's Bruce Lee and you're not. And you're never going to be able to do it like him unless you're just have those natural abilities that he has. So anyway, Tate has some abilities. He has a really good talk game, a really good con game. And if you don't have those abilities, then it's just not going to work for you as well. So look what he did. He had his girlfriends and then he duped them into doing webcam porn for him. So he dupes them. Then he uses them to dupe a bunch of guys. Then he uses the entire system to dupe people around the world into sending him money for his PhD program, right? And then once people start catching on to the things he's saying about women and so on, he gets banned from social media. And then all of a sudden, he decides to convert to Islam. And AP and I have shown that Tristan Tate was saying that he had been offered some, I forget what he said, some significant incentive to convert to Islam when he was in the Middle East. Tristan didn't, but Andrew did. But think about this. He's scamming the girls, and then he's scamming the guys. Then he's using that whole system to scam everyone else. And then once he starts getting shut down on social media, then what does he do? He converts to Islam all of a sudden. That's a very interesting pattern. So you also have a similar pattern with Sneeko. So I didn't follow much of Sneeko, so I have no idea what was going on. Andrew Tate, I actually ended up going back and watching a bunch of video clips. But Sneeko, notice also Sneeko said a bunch of messed up stuff. He was talking about, well, you could check the clips on the stuff he was saying that got him kicked off of YouTube. But Sneeko starts getting kicked off social media, and shocker, well, he converts to Islam. And that brings us to the most recent edition of this same thing. Shaun King spends years grifting, scamming, scam, lying. Does this for years, gets exposed over and over again, then recently gets kicked off of Instagram, where he had his huge following, gets kicked off of there. And then what does he do? Converts to Islam right at the beginning of Ramadan and makes sure that he makes a very big spectacle of it, and then instantly launches his new speaking tour and fundraiser. Very, very, very interesting stuff. But let's go ahead and check out some reactions to this. Did we read this little intro here? No, I pulled it up. Let's check this out. Activist Shaun King denies claims he lied about race. We did read this, didn't we? One-on-one altercation. Let's see. A racial justice, I think I read quotes from this over here. A racial justice activist with a wide following on Twitter denied conservative bloggers' claims on Wednesday that he had lied about his race and about being the victim of a racially motivated attack. The activist Shaun King, 35, rose to prominence in the Black Lives Matter movement after the fatal police shooting of Michael Brown. Guys, that's a red flag right there. Rose to prominence in the Black Lives Matter movement after the fatal police shooting of Michael Brown, an unarmed teenager in Ferguson, Missouri, in August 2014. He has said that his mother is white and his father is black, and that the assault fueled his passion for helping people. Here's what you have to watch out for. So if you have a situation, you have a bad situation. So there's a war going on that we talk about a lot between Israel and Gaza right now. Whatever side you're on, there are people who will enter that discussion, and they could become prominent and so on, who have nothing but pure intentions, right? So you could be looking at this whole thing going, oh my goodness, look at all these bombs being dropped on these people. I need to do something about that. And so you could become an activist like that. Or you could be on the Israeli side going, my goodness, these guys were minding their own business. People attacked them, killed a bunch of their people, and then ran and hid behind civilians, taking tons of hostages. They've still got the hostages. We're entirely justified in going after the people who did this. So you could have nothing but pure intentions and enter that discussion, and possibly, you might get a following, right? In other words, if you become known for the person who's defending this group or that group or something like that, people might listen to you more and more and more. So you have to look at people and say, okay, is this a person who's actually sincere? He's not just taking advantage of this situation. Because you do have people who will just take advantage of a situation. In other words, they look for areas where emotions are running very, very high. They look for these kinds of issues to insert themselves in, to say, hey, I'll be your hero here. I'm your hero. I'm your hero. And it's to their own advantage. They don't actually care about the situation. They care about themselves, or they're narcissists or something like that. And they want to take advantage of that entire situation. That's what you have to keep your eyes open for, because it can be hard. It can be difficult to tell the difference. How do you tell the difference between someone who jumps into a situation to champion a cause because that person actually believes in that cause? How do you tell the difference between that person and a grifter who just jumps into the situation to gain popularity, money, whatever it is? You kind of have to watch them over time. I have to say, Shaun King doesn't come across as someone who is sincere in all his dealings. So anyway, when you read something like right there at the top, the activist Shaun King rose to prominence in the Black Lives Matter movement after the fatal police shooting of Michael Brown, an unarmed teenager in Ferguson, Missouri. You said that his mother is white and his father is black, and that the assault fueled his passion for helping people. That sounds like exactly the sort of situation that someone would jump into to scam a lot of people. But conservative bloggers accused him of lying about both, pointing to a police report from an incident that Mr. King describes as his brutal beating by a white mob. In the report dated March 1st, 1995, Mr. King's race is marked as white, his injuries are described as minor, and only one other student is identified as being involved. That's interesting. So, according to the police report, he's white. It was a one-on-one fight with another student. His injuries are minor. How does he describe it? He was beaten by a gang of self-described rednecks until he spent 2 school years getting back surgeries to fix all the injuries he sustained. Keith Broughton, the investigating detective, said in a telephone interview on Wednesday that he had not asked Mr. King about his race, but filled out the form based on the observation of the student's light skin and white mother. Well, he's white. His mom's white. So I just didn't even ask him. He just checks white. He said he interviewed 6 witnesses put forth by the school's principal, including a teacher who broke up the fight. So you got the teacher who broke up the fight, and they all described it as a one-on-one altercation. But again, Shaun was able to come forward with some band person and 2 of his friends and his wife to defend his version of events. Namely, he was beaten up by this mob of rednecks. And then, of course, this is all part of the police cover-up. This is the police covering up this racially motivated hate crime. Interesting fellow. All right, so that's a brief introduction. There are some more disturbing things. There is way too much to cover going through this guy's issues. Wanted to just mention, we're going to go through some of the reactions to his commercial. We'll even watch the video. We'll watch the video of his shahada. This one's kind of messed up. So the Jasmine Barnes shooting. Shaun King actually falsely accused some guy of being involved in a hate crime. And that guy was harassed so much that the guy eventually committed suicide over the backlash against him. It was totally made up. So this is the description here. 7-year-old Jasmine Barnes was killed in a drive-by shooting in Houston at 7 a.m. December 30th, 2018. So girl was killed, 7-year-old, killed in a drive-by shooting in Houston. The unknown assailant pulled up alongside the family's truck and opened fire. Someone pulls along the side of the truck, opens fire, injuring the mother and other child. King and former classmate S. Lee Merritt offered a $25,000 reward for information leading to an arrest of the unknown suspect. That's actually good, right? Someone you're looking for information, put up a reward. So no problem there. After no information for 24 hours, the reward was later raised to $60,000, with $35,000 from their private funds and an additional $25,000 from donors. Police credited King with providing a tip that helped lead them to suspect Eric Black Jr., who later admitted he was involved in the shooting. So they did actually help police find someone who was involved. On Twitter, but that's later. Here's what happened. On Twitter, King initially posted the mugshot of a white male. So it's a mugshot. This guy's someone who's been arrested before. But King initially posted the mugshot of a white male, Robert Paul Cantrell, who he identified as involved in the shooting. So he posts the guy's mugshot and says, this guy is one of the ones who did it. King said in a deleted tweet, so Shaun King said in a deleted tweet, we've had 20 people call or email us and say he is a racist, violent a-hole and always has been. Just tell me everything you know. So he puts this guy's face up here, said this guy's involved, and says he's been contacted by 20 people about this guy. Police later said the man was not connected with the crime, and King deleted the tweet. though not until the man had received threats on social media. So this guy's being threatened. He has nothing to do with this. Police later said the man was not connected with the crime. King later deleted the tweet. The incident was revived in late July 2019 when Cantrell committed suicide in his jail cell, where he was being held on a separate robbery and evasion charge. Just before he died, he allegedly told his lawyer that he was concerned about the death threats his family was still receiving. His family was still receiving in the aftermath of his false imprisonment in the Jasmine Barnes murder. So this guy, his family was still being threatened because of what Shaun King did. So Shaun King says this guy is involved in this girl's killing. Later turns out to be completely bogus. Shaun King takes down the tweet. But guess what? That's the problem with social media. It's the same thing with Dawa. You take a Dawa argument, and one of the Dawa guys will lie. So it'll be something like, we criticize Muhammad for having sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. And the response will be, but Rebecca was 3. It's total nonsense. But that gets passed on, and everything spreads so rapidly from the Dawa guys that you can't clean it up after that, right? You can completely refute the lie, but it has spread so far, so fast that you'll be dealing with it for years after a single lie. And when you're saying, hey, this white guy over here killed that 7-year-old black girl, this hillbilly redneck racist, he shot that girl. And then police come along later and say, actually, this dude had nothing to do with it. This is not the guy we're looking for. We've verified this guy had nothing to do with it. Guess what? Not everyone gets that correction. And you take down the tweet, not everyone gets that. Not everyone understands that you took down the tweet, and therefore this guy's been exonerated. No, people have already got it in their minds, and they're already sharing it. They're already passing it around. Hey, if you see this guy, kill him. They're already looking it up because they had the guy's name. So they're looking up him, his family, threatening his family. Guy commits suicide over a complete false accusation by a Mr. Shaun White. So, doesn't sound like the most trustworthy guy on the planet. Let me read one more thing. What is this? Fundraising activities. King has repeatedly faced accusations from colleagues and fellow activists of raising money for unclear purposes, overpromising what he's doing with his fundraising and so on, fiscal mismanagement, radical incompetence. Where's that one? Okay. King has been accused of raising funds for causes that were never received by those he was fundraising for. So he's fundraising for someone, raises the money, and then that person says, what are you talking about? I never got any money. King has been accused of raising funds for causes that were never received by those he was fundraising for, including at Justice Together after King abruptly closed the organization. A former member of the organization who asked to have a donation returned said that King refused to return her money. An investigation by Goldie Taylor of the Daily Beast detailed discrepancies in amounts raised for different charities, such as a Haiti relief project, and in one case, starting a crowdfunding project for the family of Tamir Rice without their knowledge. So he starts a fundraiser for a family without their knowledge. Activists on Twitter question if he took the $100,000 reward money for information that led to the arrest of the men who shot Jasmine Barnes. The Tamir Rice situation says through the fundraising website youcaring.com, King raised $60,000 for Rice's family after the 12-year-old Cleveland, Ohio resident was killed in 2014 by 2 city policemen. After learning that Rice had not been buried as of 5 months after the shooting and that Rice's mother had moved into a homeless shelter. So keep in mind, King raises money for the family to help with the funeral and costs and so on. The girl's not buried, and the mother had to move into a homeless shelter. Oh, so this happened, then he raised the fundraiser. Okay, so he started the fund to assist the Rice family after the situation. In May 2015, however, family attorney Timothy Kucharski stated that neither he nor the Rice family had heard of King or the fundraiser, and they had never received any money. The money was then seized by the court and placed into Tamir Rice's estate instead of being freely available to the family. And then in 2022, he's criticized for spending $40,000 in donations on a purebred Mastiff guard dog. Huh. Interesting. This is the new poster boy. This is the new poster boy for Islam. Again, fortunately, there are lots of people who are just not falling for this. Even lots of Muslims who just, hey, we don't trust this guy, bro. We just don't trust this guy. But let's go ahead and check out. Matter of fact, let's go through, I've got some super chats here. Let's go through a couple super chats, and then we're going to look. Wait, we got some super chats. Then we will watch the video. Then we will watch the video of It's short. It's just him and his, I don't know, wife or girlfriend or whatever, taking the Shahada, and then we'll look at some reactions. Because people on social media have been following him for a while, so they actually have some insightful reactions. Let's see. Hi, David. Loved listening to you for years. A few episodes ago, someone else suggested you try to collab with Traveling Israel. Won't you please? Recent episode, Israelis Must Listen, is so good. Thinks like you, tells history. Ha! Well, if he thinks like me, you know he's good. Yeah, if anyone's over there, part of that community or something like that, yeah, tell Traveling Israel, we'd be happy to have a discussion, or if he has any ideas there. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. These are some of his new Islamic nicknames. Again, we will be going through because a lot of people are recommending his new nicknames. Smile to Jenna manipulated UFC legend Royce Gracie into converting to Islam. Well, I mean, that's pretty. But notice, Royce Gracie, at the very least, he's not some like obvious known scam artist, like unlike Andrew Tate or Shaun King. So yeah, you probably have to manipulate him, because it's not just going to be, he's not going to do it just to get money or something like that, right? And it's definitely not going to be based on the evidence. So, but yeah, I don't know what led up to that. So we might check that out. We might check that out in a live stream. U.S. Intel Chief Avril Haines says Hamas has inspired ISIS and Al-Qaeda to direct their supporters to carry out attacks against U.S. and Israeli interests. And yeah, that is, those kinds of things are going to be a concern, because it's Ramadan, when every Western politician and journalist thinks the world becomes more peaceful in spite of decades of conclusive proof to the contrary. Thoughts on Orthodox Christianity? Haven't studied it. And I've never been slightly interested. So I became a Christian. I was in jail. I became a Christian by reading the Bible and doing Bible studies and so on. And I understand that, to join certain churches, there are requirements. You have to do lots of stuff. And I've never kind of like picked, which would kind of make me a Protestant by default, because, if you're Roman Catholic, you have to go through the rites of becoming a Roman Catholic, and same with an Orthodox. But I've never even really studied a lot of the differences. So, no comment there. Masquerade, Sean Malik. Yeah. Let's see. Cars in depth. I'm so glad that Orthodox Judaism doesn't make it easy to convert. Weeds out the freaks and losers. By the way, Messianics are still intellectually dishonest. Ooh! A brutal attack? Really? Really? Michael Brown is intellectually dishonest. My goodness. That guy's Michael Brown's a hero. So in your face, cars in depth. But yeah, the point there is, and this would be true with certain versions of Christianity where it's not easy to convert. It's a process to convert. There would be like studying and so on required. And so you're not going to get a lot of like just grifters jumping into the situation. If it's, hey, recite this Shahada on video, just recite this thing. It'll take you 20, 30 seconds. Recite this thing. And all of a sudden you're showered with praise by millions and millions of people who will defend you no matter what you do. That's kind of a sweet deal if you don't have a lot of integrity, right? That is a very, very sweet deal. So yes, it is much better to have some serious requirements. Has Hassan Minhaj also converted to Islam? He used to lie a lot too. Not familiar. Shaun needs to adapt a B.S. Jussie Smollett origin story to a Palestinian context. That would be funny, right? If like so for years he's been saying that he's black, and then it was pointed out he's got white parents, and then he tells this story that his mom told him that his real dad was black, and so he was half black. Wouldn't it be funny right now if like he came out and said, "Oh, well, yeah, so my real father was black, but I also remember my mom telling me that she's not my real mom and that my real mom was Palestinian. She's a Palestinian refugee. And so a Palestinian refugee and a black man gave birth to me and then gave me to two white parents." So yeah, Shaun needs to adapt a Jussie Smollett origin story to a Palestinian context. He goes out for falafel in Gaza in the middle of a sandstorm. Two settlers accost him and say, "This is part of Israel." He fights back and escapes with keffiyeh around his neck. Yeah, it would have to be something like that, right? And it wouldn't be surprising at all. And guess what? There are people who would believe that if he just said, "I was just walking out and these two IDF soldiers came up and said, this Israeli country. But I was in the West Bank, man. I was in the West Bank, and they beat me up. But I fought them off. I fought them off like a boss. I did." And that's when I found out the real origin story. But there are people, even if he said that right now, there are people who would believe him. All right, so let's go ahead and check out our new Dawa champ. His Shahada video. Here we go.
Do it in Arabic and then we'll do it in English. Say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul Allah. I bear witness that there is only one God, and that Muhammad is his final messenger. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Congratulations, brother. You can pass the mic now to Ray.
I have to say that's that's a little weak. I don't know if that's a thing wherever they are right there, because he goes over there. But over here in the U.S., when they dupe someone into reciting the Shahada, like as soon as it's finished, someone yells what? Someone yells Takbir, and then the whole crowd starts going Allahu Akbar, and he didn't get that. So I don't know if that's just different over there, or if there are people who are just a bit suspicious of this guy already. Let's check this reaction over. That's a little weak, guys. Matter of fact, Shaun King should have jumped up right there and go, no, see, that ain't going to work for me. Come on, where's your energy at? Come on, I just converted to Islam.
Sister Ray, if you can repeat after me and say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul Allah. I testify that there is only one God, and that Muhammad is his final messenger. Takbir.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Powerful, powerful, powerful dawah. And so now Now they've got the three greatest men of our generation. They've got Andrew Tate, they've got Sneeko, and now Shaun King. They've got them all. That's the trifecta. That's the trifecta of trustworthiness, right? All right, so let's go ahead and check out some of the reactions, because when I was looking at the reactions, there were, of course, positive reactions. There were people celebrating it. You can check this yourself. When I just searched for Shaun King, it seemed to be like 80 to 85% negative. And it was interesting because it wasn't just from non-Muslims or from critics of Islam or Islamophobes who were upset about this. It was lots of people, just people from the African-American community saying, how is anyone believing in this guy? How are you? We all know what kind of guy this is. Why is anyone trusting him? And even Muslims who are saying this guy's going to be taking advantage of the situation with Gaza. He's just taking advantage of it. So again, even Muslims and activists for Palestine were pointing this out. But let's look at a couple of the positive ones here. So I don't know who this account is. It's got the name Khaleesi, but this is the one that lots of people were sharing for some reason. Not sure why. Maybe she just posted it first or something. But Khaleesi says, breaking: Shaun King, the activist who, with nearly 6 million followers, was banned from Instagram for exposing Israeli war crimes. Really? You get banned for exposing Israeli war crimes? I mean, I see people exposing Israeli war crimes all day. They say, look at these Israeli war crimes. It's a genocide. It's an ethnic cleansing. It's apartheid state. They're just going around just brutally murdering little kids left and right for no reason whatsoever. I see that stuff all day, every day. Some reason he got banned for his powerful voice. Has embraced Islam along with his wife on the first night of Ramadan. That's interesting. Just happened to embrace Islam on the first night of Ramadan in this very, very hectic time. That is very interesting. Very, very interesting. But let's check out some of these. So that's Khaleesi. Dilly Hussein of 5 Pillars. Delighted to hear the news that Shaun King and his wife have accepted Islam. Allahu Akbar. Welcome to Islam, my dear brother. And there's Dilly Hussein and Shaun King in the studio. Derek says, this is Red Pill Muslim. I've had a lot of problems with Shaun King in the past. So in the past, what problems did you have with Shaun King in the past? That he's a grifter and a scam artist and a con man? I've had a lot of problems with Shaun King in the past, but alhamdulillah, since he came Muslim, all his past sins are forgiven and he's now a brother of mine. Doesn't mean I won't call him out if he's wrong. May Allah accept him and his wife and keep them on the straight path. And this is another concern right here. So you, as a Muslim, you would want to say, yes, if this person has converted to Islam, his past sins are forgiven. What if the overwhelming majority of this guy's past sins are all scamming people, are all using situations to his advantage? What if his past sins are constant, compulsive lying and manipulation? What if that's the case? Well, what you'd want to say as a Muslim is, if this guy is sincere, then we believe that his sins are going to be forgiven. But you'd want to say, hey, maybe we need to keep our eyes on this guy for a while before celebrating, because we do not know. We do not know if he's sincere. If a guy has spent his entire life being a scam artist and then says, hey, I'm a Muslim now, right here on the first day of Ramadan, you might want to pull back a little bit. You might want to pull back on the reins a little bit and make sure that this guy's sincere. And you'd do that by watching him for a long time. If he instantly starts going for attention, then okay, not looking good for him. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And now we get into some of the people who are a bit suspicious here. Some people are a bit suspicious. And I mean, this has the Palestinian flag up there. Love this Instagram post for calling out the grifting behavior of Shaun King and Khaled Beydoun. It's disgusting. These two non-Palestinians indulge in trauma porn and are trying to profit off a genocide against us. Wow, 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 wow. Someone saying, hey, this genocide is against us. They use all the pictures and video clips on their social media channels to their advantage. To their advantage, not to our advantage, to their advantage. So this is someone who actually can see what is going on there. This is Andy No. Breaking. BLM hoaxer Shaun King and his wife have converted to Islam. King identifies as black and previously identified as a Christian pastor. He regularly uses his large social media platform to threaten people. In 2018, King falsely accused a white man, Robert Cantrell, of being the racist murder suspect of a 7-year-old black child named Jasmine Barnes. King posted the man's photo and name to his 1 million followers. Cantrell later committed suicide. A black man named Larry Woodruff murdered the girl. So a guy who had nothing to do with it ended up getting harassed, him and his family threatened until he committed suicide. Here's Bosch Faustin, the cartoonist and winner of that cartoon contest, that Muhammad cartoon contest back in the day. He says, Shaun King, the white communist who identifies as black and has identified as a Christian pastor, is now identifying as a Muslim. He thinks joining the most violent group on earth will make others identify him as someone who shouldn't be mocked when the mocking has only begun. Uh-oh, this looks like Bosch thinks that Shaun King is going to be mocked even more for converting to Islam. But I have to say, so if you're a white communist who identifies as black, and you can just identify as whatever you want, I mean, you can gorge yourself with food all day and identify yourself as fasting. So what would be the problem? Words just mean whatever you decide that they mean at any given moment, apparently. That's how Dawa's working out recently. Ralph Leonard says, this isn't going to be the beginning of a genuine spiritual odyssey. Instead, it marks the next stage of King's career as a performative activist. That's a good description of him. Performative activist. He's an activist, but it's a performance. Air says, Shaun King converting to Islam doesn't excite me in the slightest. This sounds like from a Muslim, I guess. Shaun King converting to Islam doesn't excite me in the slightest. That man is a con artist and is hopping from community to steal from. Been Muslim for 1 day and is already promoting iftar dinner for $60 per person when masjids do it for free. Scamadan on day one is crazy. I like that. That's a play on Ramadan. Now it's Scamadan. Scamadan. The Scamadan Bamathon. Hannah says, you know it's bad when even the people with the triangles in the profile are rejecting Shaun King. So you've got the Palestinian flag and the watermelon, and the page is halal Muslim girl. Guys, what does a triangle mean? Anyone know what the triangle means? I don't know what that means. There's a slight like 20-second delay. So tell me if you know in the chat what the triangle means. Let me know, because I don't know what that means. But this woman finds it interesting that even the people with the triangles are rejecting Shaun King. So Shaun King, here's the post. Shaun King decided to fly out to get his shahada done by Imam Omar, who is mega popular online, when he could have done it offline in his city. He sent a message to different influencers informing them that he will do this. He also sent a message to a brother in Gaza with a platform. I was looking at the triangle. Some people are saying it means they support Hamas. Some people say the triangle comes from the Pali flag. Someone says it means the Trinity. That'd be funny. Yeah, some people are saying Palestinian flag and so on. Yeah, I'm wondering there, because you have the triangle on the Palestinian flag, but I'm wondering what the, why would that be? People are saying it's the red triangle on the Palestinian flag. So yeah, so why is that taken out? I don't know. I'll look that up later. We don't want to spend too much time trying to figure out. All right, so halal Muslim girl here points out that wait a minute, this guy's reverting to Islam. He's going to recite his Shahada, which he could do. He could have done offline, not in front of people, not being recorded in his own city and so on. Instead, he's messaging different influencers saying, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go out to Imam Omar and going to do it. And we want it recorded. And then we're going to launch our iftar fundraiser things right afterwards and so on. Nothing to be suspicious about here. But notice it's Muslims themselves who are like, hey, this doesn't look right here. David Palansky says, the thing that makes Shaun King one of the great American grifters since the era of Twain is that he doesn't just convert to Islam in preparation for a future campaign. He is already fundraising when his conversion is announced. So this guy sets up his fundraiser, then goes over. So he's got his fundraisers and all this stuff in motion. It's all set up. And then he goes and, hey guys, I'm a Muslim now. Aren't you all super happy? Giannis says, Jeffrey Shaun King is 100% white. He's a 100% white guy with 2 white parents. He went to a black college on a scholarship for black kids and has made a great living as a black activist. He went from pastor to black Muslim. Don't dare tell me you can't get to the gym and get in semi-shape. I didn't know where that was going when I started reading, but that's actually a seriously funny tweet. So look at that again. Hey, look. Shaun King, if you need motivation in life, ladies and gentlemen, if you need motivation to get to the gym and get in shape, just think of this guy, Shaun King. He's a 100% white guy with 2 white parents who went to a black college on a scholarship for black kids and has made tons of money as a black activist. He went from pastor to black Muslim. Don't tell me you can't get to the gym and get in shape. That's classic. Matter of fact, I will find something to copy that approach in, because that ending there was unexpected. Ernest Owen says, Shaun King ben Rachel Dolas, I don't even know how to pronounce that lady's last name, but she was the woman who was white and pretended to be black for years, mainly by how she kept her hair and stuff like that, which is kind of what Shaun King's doing. Shaun King has been Rachel Dolezalling for the community for years. And check out those pictures there. Check out the pictures. So that's his white father up top on the left. That's his mother there in the middle of the top. That's his brother. And then you have, there you have Shaun King from a yearbook photo. Now, I'm not the one getting this, so I cannot independently verify this, but these are the pictures that are circulating online as far as the people who've been calling him out. That was Shaun King in his child yearbook on the bottom right there. And I have to say, that looks like the absolute whitest kid I've ever seen in my entire life. Is that the color's a little off? Is that red hair? It's like reddish brown. What's that called? Auburn hair. So guys, see this little kid? See this little kid down there on the bottom right? This is the kid, according to Shaun King, that rednecks formed mobs to go after to attack him and beat him up because he's black. Shaun King, ladies and gentlemen. Now he's Muslim, so you can't criticize anything. Drew says, so great to see Shaun King raising funds for Gaza. Please make sure to send it to his personal bank account. And he links to something. So you got the provide hot meals during Ramadan in Gaza, and this guy's saying, yeah, be sure to send your donations to his personal bank account. Controversial BLM activist Shaun King used $40,000 in donor funds to buy an AKC award-winning Mastiff. So he used that for used donations to get a really, that's an expensive dog. That had better be a really good dog there. I mean, really, really good dog. $40,000. Sean here says, imagine exhausting all your possible grifts with woke Christians that your last play left is to become Muslim. But think about the meaning of this. Because again, some of these tweets are coming from Muslims, and some of them are coming from people who don't have any, they're not critical of Islam, but they're just pointing out the absurdity here. Imagine exhausting all your possible grifts with woke Christians. And when that's no longer working, hey, I'm a Muslim now. Wow. Brendan here says, Shaun King converted to Islam for Ramadan on Sunday. He's already selling tickets to Muslims for iftar dinner Friday. So he converted to Islam on Sunday, and he's already selling tickets for an iftar dinner with him on Friday. I was never comfortable calling him Talcum X, but no issues calling him Osama bin Laden. And that seems to be the name that is sticking most that I've seen, Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden. Olivia says, breaking, Shaun King has decided to pretend to be Muslim in addition to pretending to be black. And as we pointed out, he needs to just go ahead and pretend that he's a Palestinian. And finally, look, guys, because these are on different days. So the top tweet was on March 10th, right when it circulated that Shaun King had converted to Islam. And then the follow-up tweet was the next day. So this was March 10th when it was announced, and then March 11th. Look at this. So the top tweet is, if I see one Ramadan fundraiser from Shaun King, I swear. So she hears, and notice this channel. This is Support Palestinians. This is a pro-Palestinian channel. This is a pro-Palestine, want to help Palestinians, want to help the people of Gaza, want to help the kids, want to help the women, want to help the civilians. This is a channel that's all about that. So obviously, you would be glad to have all the help you can. She sees Shaun King go over there and recite his Shahada, converting to Islam, and she says, man, I better not see a Ramadan fundraiser. I see, notice, this is exactly what I said. A person who converts to something, it can be completely sincere, or it can be a total grift. How do you know? Well, you'd have to look at where the person goes with this. So she actually puts a little test here. As soon as she hears Shaun King converted to Islam, she posts, if I see a Ramadan fundraiser from this guy, then what she's saying is, hey, if he converts and then he just goes about doing his thing for a while and learning about Islam and becoming a better and better Muslim, okay, maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here. But if all of a sudden this guy starts talking about iftar dinners and stuff like that, whoa, my goodness. And then what happens the very next day? So right, the day after she says that, $120 uncensored iftar tickets. Oh, that took no time at all. Yeah, that was very, very, very quick, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, 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 wow. All right, so guys, this is what we're dealing with as, I guess he's going to be one of the new poster boys for Dawa. And it's kind of weird to me that he might not be able to do that just because his reputation is so destroyed. But think, what kind of world, if you're a convert to Islam, what kind of world do you live in where a sex trafficker who's accused of rape, a guy who was bragging about all the stuff he's been doing for years, making pornography and so on, that guy, a lifelong scam artist, Andrew Tate, can say, hey, I'm converting to Islam, and how dare you even question him? What kind of world do we live in where Shaun King, he's a more suspicious, less trustworthy figure than Andrew Tate, by far, because you've got some people, you got people who are way more suspicious than they were of Andrew Tate. To be fair, you did have plenty of Muslims who were like, hey guys, come on, seriously, Andrew Tate Andrew Tate. Have you seen his videos? Do we want this guy on our side? You did have people like that. But I have to say, the vast majority of the responses I saw from Muslims were cheering for Tate. Whereas based on what I've seen, and again, all I did was a Twitter search, but based on what I've seen, people seem to be overwhelmingly against, or had to have a negative view, or to be suspicious of our new bestest buddy, Shaun King's reversion. All right. So, anyone persuaded that Shaun King is a super good guy? Anyone thinks he's a really, really good guy? I'm looking at some of the comments now. Oh, he already got paid from Saudi. And so, yeah, that, keep in mind, since we know, and I knew this before Tristan Tate said that, they're offered whatever, I forget how he put it, but there are offers made to them for converting to Islam. But I've known two Arab Christian pastors, totally disconnected. They both told me almost the same thing. One told me, and this was from the UK, Arab pastor of a church out there. And he told me that a small delegation from, I think it was Saudi Arabia, it might have been Egypt, but he said years ago, approached him and said, we want you to announce that you have converted to Islam, and we want you to write a book. And the book has to be about how, after reading both the Quran and the Bible, you concluded that the Quran is the true word of God. And they said, do that, name your price. They said there's no limit on the price. Now, obviously there would be if you said $100 trillion or something like that, but they said name your price, we'll get it. And the other Christian pastor, an Arab Christian pastor who lives in California, he said they came up to him after an event. So he leaves the event, he goes to a gas station, and they've been following him, and he's wondering, hey, what were these guys doing? And they came up to him, they handed him a Quran, and in there was a message saying $2 million. $2 million if you convert to Islam and announce it. So we know these things do happen. So yeah, that is a question. Is he just say, hey, but I mean, keep in mind, if you had tons of financial backing and you wanted to use that money to get some people to convert, what kind of people do you have to go for? Do you go for people who have tons and tons of integrity and would never sell out for anything? Are those the kinds of guys you go for to win to your new religion with money? No, you go for guys that have no integrity. They're scam artists. Those are the people you go for. And so I don't know about any financial dealings with Andrew Tate or Sneeko or Shaun King. Let's just say it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if these guys just paid tons of money, because those are exactly the kinds of guys that you would want to pay to convert to Islam. You would want people who are going to accept that bribe. You've had your entire life to try going after people who have integrity, and oops, it doesn't work. Hey, if we get some scam artists, yeah, it'll work there. So yeah, that is an issue. All right, let's go through some super chats, and then we're going to look at some proposed names for our new Dawa champ. Let's see. David doesn't even know what kind of Christian he is. This is the proof that Islam is the one true religion. Indeed it is. Makes me want to run out there, convert on tape. Can you imagine that if I ran out there saying, you know what, after I've been paid by Jews to say all this stuff, but now I'm converting to Islam and I side with Gaza. I'd be like, I'd be a superhero. Let's see. Jesse says, Muslim privilege card, the fastest growing card with top victim status in the world. That's another issue. And Chris Rock was talking about this, how we've got an entire generation that is obsessed with getting attention, right? So we've made it where everyone is addicted to attention. But he points out, I think this was his last comedy show. He points out that there are only a few main ways to get attention. Like you could get attention by being the best at something. Like you're Michael Jordan or something like that. You're going to get a lot of attention if you're the best. But that's also what requires the most work. Being the best at something requires the most work. So that's one way to get attention. He points out another way to get attention. It's to just, get naked. So, you could be a Kardashian or something like that. That's a really quick way to get attention. But he points out one of them is to be a victim. And so there's this, everyone is striving to be a victim in some way because it's just an easy way. It's just an easy way to get attention. You're a victim. But it's interesting because even if you're not a victim, you could be the most privileged, you can have the most privileged life in the world. You're not a victim in any possible way. You can become a victim, ladies and gentlemen. Even if you grew up as a boy and you never felt like you were a girl, you didn't actually have that, because some people do have it. Some boys do grow up and they feel like girls, and some girls do grow up and they feel like boys. And there are some people that happens to them naturally without any outside influence. But guess what? You could be a boy who never feels like a girl at any point in your entire life, and you can find out, hey, here's a way to instantly become a victim. Here's a way to instantly become a victim and to get a lot of attention. Well, that's win-win right there, right? But guess what? Another way is just convert to Islam. Then you're simultaneously a victim and you will get tons and tons and tons of attention. So that is something to pay attention to as these things unfold on TikTok. You saw what was going on TikTok, where all of a sudden people start praising the Germans and start praising bin Laden for his great letter and so on. We've made a generation that is absolutely addicted to attention. And then we give them a couple really quick, really easy ways to get tons and tons of attention and to become victims. And guess what? A bunch of people are going to do that. No question. A bunch of people are going to do that. So Muslim privilege card, fastest growing card with top victim status in the world. Indeed. Understanding Christianity says, how do you respond to people who say you don't apply the same amount of criticism to Christianity that you put into Islam? I see atheists claim this a lot. Yeah, I see atheists claim lots of stuff a lot. What's that got to do with anything? How in the world do they see from an atheist perspective? Here's how it goes. I'm not talking about all atheists here. From the sort of people that you're going to hear this. Hey, David, he doesn't criticize. Guys, I came to Christianity, guns blazing at Christianity. That's how I became a Christian. I went right after their main argument, which is the resurrection, figured out how I'm going to explain that. And I found out, actually, all the evidence is on that side. You can still reject it as an atheist. You can still say, well, I don't believe it. I don't care. I don't care what the evidence actually shows. I'm not going to believe in something that's supernatural. I wasn't in that position by that point. So I'm looking at, hey, wait a minute. All the evidence we have tells us this guy died. It was a public event. That's what happens when you crucify someone. And his followers are going to their horrible, bloody deaths, claiming that he had risen from the dead and appeared to them. And even critical scholars go to Bart Ehrman. He acknowledges Jesus' death as an indisputable fact of history. And he doesn't like the group appearances, but he grants Peter an appearance to Peter, an appearance to Paul, and an appearance to Mary. I mean, that's kind of bare bones what you have to grant and still be a serious historian. But notice you have multiple appearances to different people in completely different contexts. Everyone's just concluding that this guy has risen from the dead and is appearing to them. Well, you can still reject that. But here's the thing. When you go after an Islamic argument, like the argument from perfect preservation, is it like that? Is it like that where you say, okay, I'm going to go look into this. I'm going to go after their main argument. I'm going to go look into this. And do you find, wow, there is really this, the evidence does fit this pretty well. Is that what you find? No. You do 5 minutes of investigation, you find out it's complete nonsense. It's based on nothing but lies. In other words, there is zero evidence. I challenge every Muslim in the world. Prove me wrong. Join me live and give me any evidence that you can put forward. One piece, one fact to show Any evidence. I don't mean 100% certainty. I mean any argument, any piece of evidence you have that the Quran has been perfectly preserved. Show me one. None, because it's completely ridiculous. It's a completely false claim. That's what happens when you investigate the Muslim claims. So is this the same thing? No, it's just not. You start investigating the life of Jesus, you come away with some very, very different conclusions from what happens when you investigate the life of Muhammad. And Muhammad's arguments were along the lines of, oh, look at this mole I've got on my back. Jesus' arguments were along the lines of, hey, I'm walking on water. So I'm just going to be honest here. When you say, when people come with this view that all religions are basically in the same boat and they all have kind of the same status, I think you're an idiot. I think like you're completely ignorant and stupid when someone says that. And by the way, there have been atheists who said the same thing. Anthony Flew. So he was one of the most prominent atheists of the 20th century. That's back when atheists were kind of, they weren't like the new atheists, right? They weren't like these angry, flipping out, enraged guys like Richard Dawkins and their followers and so on. They were like gentlemanly atheists. So Bertrand Russell and A.J. Ayer and Anthony Flew and so on. But Anthony Flew, when he was talking, he debated Gary Habermas on the resurrection multiple times. And he would say, hey, if you wanted to make a case for a miracle, the resurrection that's probably the best case you've got for a miracle. So keep in mind, what's he saying there? He's saying not all cases are the same. He's acknowledging you can have a better case for something, even though he doesn't believe in it, even though he didn't believe in it, you can still say, hey, you have a better case for that than this guy over here has for this. But then the new generation of atheists came along and they're just programmed to say, nothing is any evidence if I disagree with it. If I disagree with it, there's no evidence of anything. No, there's no evidence. That's no evidence. And they're basically taught to play skeptic, which you can do with anything. And so when I'm talking to one of these guys and they come along and they say, prove to me that God exists, the first thing I say to them is first prove that you exist. Because I want to teach them a lesson about how easy it is to play skeptic. So one of these guys comes along, well, you're talking about God and that's stupid, but prove to me that God exists. And I go, okay, I will, but I don't want to argue with a non-existent person. So first prove to me that you exist. And then we go back and forth as this person tries in vain to prove that he exists and can't. He can't even come close. So I just start off, it's usually like in the chat, he's posting a comment and I say, prove to me that you exist and that you're not, prove to me you're an actual human being and not just a bot. Like, how do you do that? How do you prove that you're not some AI bot or something like that? And the answer is you can't in the chat. You can't prove it. If I'm playing skeptic, you can't prove it. And then the person will eventually, we'll get on the video chat. It's like, how will I know I'm not dreaming? How will I know I'm not in the Matrix? I don't mean the Andrew Tate Matrix. I mean the movie Matrix. How would I know I'm not in the Matrix? How do I know that I am not the only thing that exists and I'm just inventing you out of my own imagination? How? The only point is, it is really, really easy to just reject evidence that you don't want to believe. And if you look at my methodology, I'm using the exact same methodology that is the real methodology of people like Richard Dawkins and a lot of the other atheists. Dawkins said, if he saw a message written out in the stars, Richard Dawkins, believe in me, he still wouldn't believe in God. He still wouldn't believe. He said he could attribute that to powerful aliens who are trying to trick him. So what's that mean? It means, guess what? If God showed up and started blasting lightning bolts all over the place, blah, 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 said, believe in me, I'm going to blast you all with lightning bolts. You could still say, well, maybe it's powerful aliens tricking me. The point is, you can explain away anything. You can explain away pretty much anything. And then these leaders of the new atheist movement, they program people to do that with religion. Just, I'm gonna be a skeptic, which you could do with anything. They could have very easily trained the exact same people to do that with every moral claim. Right? You can use, if you make a moral claim, don't torture old ladies for fun, and you start playing skeptic with that. What's the basis of that? That's just you saying that. You can't prove that to me. You can't prove that. You can't prove any moral claim you make. All you can say is what you believe. That's no evidence at all. In fact, you can use the exact same arguments, right? When people say, you just believe in God because you were taught to believe in God. Okay, you just believe murder is wrong because you've been told that murder is wrong. But they don't play the skeptic game over there. They only play it with certain things. So they're what you call selective skeptics. they are trained. The new atheists came along, master manipulators, and manipulated an entire generation to playing skeptic selectively with certain religious claims. And then, of course, once you do that, you conclude that all religious claims have no foundation. There's no basis for any of them. Why? Because it's easy to do that if you're just playing skeptic. And then, therefore, all religions are basically in the same boat. And yes, you can say that, understanding Christianity. Yes, the atheists you can see atheists saying that. Again, I regard them as complete morons if that's their position. And I'd be happy if you find someone who has any clue what he's talking about, I'd be happy to sit down with them and we'll go through. And I'll say, hey, so here's my reason for believing this. Here's the Islamic reason for believing that. Are you saying with a straight face that there's the same basis for both of these, that these are both in the same ballpark, and that if I reject one, I have to reject the other as well? This is like who was that guy? Apostate Aladdin, who the other day was saying when we're on that live stream, and he was saying, well, David, there's David and AP are sitting there making fun of the idea of Muhammad flying his magic donkey monster and so on. But David believes in the ascension of Jesus. So how are you not making fun of that? What's the assumption there? The assumption is that these claims are exactly the same. Now, from an atheist, from their perspective, the new atheist perspective, yeah, all these claims are equally wrong because they're all equally supernatural and they're all therefore equally stupid. I'm not starting from that assumption. I don't have that assumption that anything supernatural has to be stupid. And my criticism of Muhammad's night journey and riding the flying donkey monster is not that it involves something supernatural. It's that it's clearly made up later. Clearly. It's like Muhammad's miracle claims, right? Saying, he had water shooting out of his fingers and so on. Okay, these are clearly later fabrications. The Quran says Muhammad couldn't perform miracles. Over and over again, he couldn't perform miracles. And then Muslims go around, they're constantly interacting with Jews and Christians who are asking over and over again, what miracles did he perform? What miracles? Tell us what the miracles were. And they had nothing. And finally, he was shooting water out of his fingers. And one of these new atheists said, yeah, you see, so that's the same sort of claim as Jesus, as Jesus followers claiming that he could do miracles. No, Jesus followers are claiming that he was performing all kinds of miracles way back in the first century. It's not something later. It's not some later. You could still reject it, but don't claim that a later obvious fabrication is on the same ground as people who are in that same time period commenting on this. It's just not, right? Luis Hernandez says, David, have you ever asked an opponent Muslim or inquired about Sunan An-Nasai 29 about sitting down when urinating? I ask because as a man, no way. Yeah, we put that in, I think that's episode 1 of Islamicize Me. But, I mean, it's actually really bad. I mean, you're talking about most of the punishment of the grave is because of urinating improperly. And you'd have to wonder why that would be so important. So suppose you wanted to say, hey, Muhammad is the pattern of conduct and Muhammad would squat to pee like a girl. And that's even raised in the hadith. People would make fun of the unbelievers would make fun of him. Your prophet, that's the guy who pees like a girl. But Muhammad insisted on squatting to pee. And so if you're talking to Muslims who believe in those sources and who know what those sources say, that's just part of being a Muslim. You squat to pee. But that is an area where you'd have to say, okay, why? Like, what is the actual purpose of that? And I think that I don't remember who that came up with, Daniel Hakikachu or something like this. This is what Christians are peeing all over the walls and so on. They have to say things like that. No, guys are very capable at aiming. We have good aim. In fact, your aim is significantly worse if you actually squat down. And I heard from a guy when I was bringing this up, I think it was when I put it in a fun Islamic fact, but I heard from a guy, he said he was a student in Dearborn. And he said he was at his high school and there's a bunch of Muslims on his football team. So they convinced him to convert to Islam. And he said, then they told me I had to squat to pee. And so he did it behind the bleachers and said, I messed up my new Nike. He was using much more colorful language, but he's saying, I messed up my new Nikes. And so, yeah, but why? If you wanted to say, hey, I prefer sitting down, to, and by the way, keep in mind, this isn't, because there are people who say, hey, it is better to sit down to pee. This is not talking about sitting. We're not talking about sitting on a toilet back then. He's just talking about you're out in the woods somewhere. You squat down to pee instead of, standing up like a man. So even if you wanted to say, hey, I prefer squatting to pee or something like that, how does it become like the most serious issue for the punishment of the grave? The most serious punishment of the grave is about how you pee and whether you're squatting to pee. Very, very weird stuff. But yeah, I think that came up. I don't remember where. I think with Daniel Hakikachu. But it is interesting to ask them some of this stuff. Isaiah 53, Shahada should be no God, but the law. It does not talking about one God. Yeah, their language is confusing. Blue said, Abu Ubaidah said, Ramadan is the month of jihad. Does Shaun converting count as global jihad then? That is an ongoing issue that I keep hearing politicians and journalists. Ramadan is the month of peace when Muslims just focus on peace. Where are you getting that from? Where? That's a Western invention because that's how people think religion is in the West. Religion is something that makes you, if you're focusing on God, you're going to be less focused on going around slaughtering everyone. And they don't realize, no, Muhammad himself launched wars. Muhammad himself, the Battle of Badr and Muhammad's conquest of Mecca did both of those during Ramadan. Ramadan was not a time of peace for them. Shaun King, how about no? I don't buy your Allah. Yeah, some of these guys, you have to wonder if it's really if they don't get the attention they're craving, because again, you have lots of Muslims who are suspicious of them. But if you don't get the attention you're craving, are you actually going to stick with it? You're going to stick with it forever? We got the pair character, Tamara there. Robert here says, shocker, a white man pretending to be a black man converts to Arab paganism, pretending to be an Abrahamic religion. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. Someone needs to make a meme with Shaun King like that. Have him with like Islamic garb and then put, I'm a dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. That'd be a perfect little meme. Matter of fact, if no one makes it, I'm going to make it when I'm done. These people, when they don't get attention from Christians, they convert to Islam. Christians don't like people like Tate, Sneeko, or King. Attention seeking. Yeah, I think Christians, for the most part, there are exceptions, of course, because, you do have Muslims who don't fall for this stuff. But I think for the most part, Christians have better reads on some of these guys. And you could see it like when Kanye announced that he was a Christian, he's putting out a gospel album. You didn't see Christians running on, our new savior of Christianity. You didn't see that. It was like, we're going to have to keep an eye on you we want nothing but the best for you. And we're happy for you. We're happy for you. And we'll listen to your album, but you are not going to be our representative. You're going to have to be you're going to have to be around for a while before we start thinking of you as our new representative, dude. Not going for it. But with Tate and Sneeko and Shaun King, then it's like, as soon as they convert, it's like this is the new case. This is their new case for Islam. Even though these guys never have any clue what they're talking about. You ask Andrew Tate about Islam, he has no clue what he's talking about. You ask Sneeko about Islam, he has no clue what he's talking about. You ask, I don't know Shaun King. I guarantee if we sat down with Shaun King, I could quote to him 100 Quran verses. He will not have any clue what I'm talking about on any of them. The more ignorant you are, the more they love you. The more they love you as a symbol of your new religion. And so it is this thing where these guys are claim to be Christians for a while, and then all of a sudden Christians aren't defending me in all this creepy stuff I'm doing. So I'll go to Islam where they'll defend me no matter what. Red triangles were symbols for communists or political dissidents in World War II concentration camps. Oh, that's interesting. So you're saying that's different from, hey, now I definitely have to look it up because some of you were saying it's from the Palestinian flag. Now Tamara here is saying it's for communists. Tom Young John says, may the Lord of Hosts bless David Wood every day. Thank you. Blaze here says, imagine how Shaun King's dad feels. Yeah, I don't know if he's still alive. I didn't look into it that much, but Now, wouldn't that suck if you were his white dad and you were his real dad and he's going around, no, my real dad's black. And it's like, let's see. Milkshake. Oh, is this a name? Milkshake Saddam Bruce Wayne. Milkshake Saddam Bruce Wayne. That's a good one. And we will. We're gonna look at a couple here. Yo, D-Dub. Glad I caught you again. As always, keep up the good work, and I love you. Missed AP this round, but that's okay. I'll send shekels for his children next time. R.I.P. Reed Wood. Love you. Thanks. Let's see. David, Jesus already paid the greatest price for us, his own blood. He used death to defeat death. He proved he is God when he rose from the grave. Hey, you're preaching the choir here. I believe in Jesus. Taters got arrested again. Lol, alhamdulillah. Yeah, and instantly lies started spreading. Oh, these were for old issues that have already been rejected and so on. And you've got Milk Bar and Murdered by Crayons, and they've been doing a good job, because if you're a professional manipulator like Andrew Tate, and you condition your entire community to mindlessly defend you, no matter, even if you're obviously lying. So you can have a video clip right there talking about how you sold drugs, and then you can have another video clip, I've never sold drugs. It should be very clear at some point you're lying. You're lying here, or you're lying there, but you're lying somewhere, right? No, it's whatever they are told, whatever the most recent marching orders are, they take that as indisputable truth. Even if he comes along later and says something that completely contradicts that, then they'll just go with the new thing, and that's the indisputable truth. Once you've conditioned people to do that, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to respond, because they will spend their entire lives defending Tate. Most people don't want to spend their entire lives responding to the lies. You just don't want to. You'd rather be doing something. You've got a million other things to do. You don't want to keep telling the same people over and over and over again the same thing to refute them. I say this from experience. I've been doing it with Islam for a long time, but it's a very similar dynamic with the people who will defend Tate and will just defend something that is, they will defend it even though it's indisputably false. We know factually it's false, and they'll just keep doing it anyway. And you can have it. The impact that it can have on you is like, I'm sick of this. I'm not dealing with this anymore. And so it's actually cool that you got some people who are just relentless. I mean, every time someone posts, these guys, again, Murdered by Crayons and Milk Bar TV, they're just relentless in exposing the lies. And so, yeah, you had Taters getting arrested again. This is related to charges in Great Britain. And there was apparently information that Tate and Tristan were about to flee the country before their trial. So they're going to get to, some Middle Eastern country that won't extradite them. It's going to protect them from the Matrix. So they're about to bolt, and Britain said, arrest these guys now before they have a chance to do that. And then of course, I'm guessing they were arrested and then released. I don't know if they were released, and there's basically going to be some more eyes on them and more monitoring of them. And I'll just say here again, if I don't even know how this would be possible, but if Andrew Tate and Tristan are actually innocent of any of the things they're being accused, because keep in mind, just because we know they were doing lots of messed up stuff, that doesn't mean every accusation against them is true. Any accusations against them that are actually false, I hope that they're exonerated of those charges. But not looking good for the tater tots. Knox says, D. Wood, would you ever consider doing a PSYOP? Convert to Islam to take it down from within. Seems fun. I wouldn't. It's possible that there are some people who are doing that. I'm not opposed to. I'm not opposed to doing that. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing that to make a point to the Muslim community. I wouldn't want to do that to take down Islam from within. Again, there may be people who are doing that. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to be living a lie. It would be interesting to me to kind of make a point to Muslims where someone pretends to convert to Islam, does a bunch of grifting, and then comes out after 6 months. Guys, I'm trying to teach you a lesson here. This is how easy it was to scam your entire community. So you need to take precautions. In other words, I wouldn't be opposed to that with actually trying to help somebody. But I'm quite comfortable blasting Islam from without, and whatever their intentions are, we have all our Dawah guys who are destroying it from within. So you don't need any tricks or anything. We just keep doing what they're doing. We keep doing what we're doing. They can keep doing what they're doing. It all collapses. Evidence for resurrection leads to plausible conclusion. Though they fit, it's possible, not probable. E.g., evidence women's testimony was discounted, so empty tomb real, from a few decades post-Jesus. So there are a couple things going on here. So he's pointing out, this is the principle of embarrassment. As far as the women's testimony, the women were the were the original witnesses of the empty tomb. So women were the witnesses that are listed as the witnesses of the empty tomb. And the idea is in the first century, women's testimony was regarded as pretty close to worthless. It wasn't very well respected. So principle of embarrassment, if you were inventing a story, if you wanted to make up a story about the tomb being empty, what do you say? Do you say, oh, and by the way, some women that none of you guys think are reliable, they saw it and they came back and started telling people about it? No, you'd make up a story that is going to be much more persuasive to people during the time. But you have lots of issues like that. And these were things that I was picking up on when I was checking it out, that you can see things where you go, okay, it would make sense to make this up. And you see other things that are just, and by the way, I apply the exact same reasoning to Islam, where if I read a story, okay, is there a good reason to make this story up? Keep in mind, just because there can be a good reason to make something up doesn't mean that it's made up. It could be completely true. But you're looking for things where, okay, no one is going to make this up. No one would make this up. Or no, if someone were making something up, they wouldn't tell it in this way. You're looking for those kinds of things because all of a sudden there you start getting to some information that doesn't look like someone would make it up. And then you can kind of have a different kind of confidence in those kinds of issues. Beatrice says, I have a hard time trying to understand why would anyone be drawn to a religion if they don't see miracles. Yeah, people can be drawn to Islam for all kinds of reasons. It's just weird because whenever I ask them what the reasons were, it's pretty much always deception. It's pretty much always they were lied to about something. And that's a concern. And you could see it. You see the Dawah guys, you see what their arguments for Islam are. They're constantly always lying to win converts. They don't view it as bad. They view it as good. If this person lies to you to convince you to become Muslim, but then you spend eternity in paradise because you're a Muslim, well, did I harm you with my lying? No, I helped save you with lying. And that's what they view it as. And so you get all these converts converting for some really dumb reasons. Which is a true God? The one who says, I am God, worship me, or the one who demonstrates that he is God by doing things only God can do? That's a very important question to ask when you got the Muslim challenge that they were that they were trained to ask Christians, where did Jesus say, I am God, worship me, in those words? That the first question should be, is that the only way someone can show that he's God, by uttering that statement? Is that the only way someone could show himself to be God? The answer should be no. There are all kinds of things. There are all kinds of different ways you could show that you're convinced that you're God. David, what denomination are you part of if you belong to any specific one? I don't belong to any specific denomination. Keep in mind, I'm not saying anyone out there should not be part of a specific denomination. Not what I'm saying at all. I'm not part of a specific denomination. If I had to choose between the intelligence of Sneeko and a cow, I'd choose the cow. Yeah, you ain't the only one, buddy. Shio says, in the past, you've mentioned LGBT imams. What are the justifications do they give for being Muslim and gay? Thank you for opening my eyes. to Islam. I haven't seen what their justifications are. If I had to guess, just based on what I've heard from lots of Muslims, and lots of Christians would be the same, that if you just grew up and you had some inclination, like most Muslims and Christians would not say that they have any serious issue with you. The issues would not be until how are you acting on that? How are you acting? And so lots of Muslims would say they don't care if someone has some inclination or something like that. They would care what the person's actually doing. But yeah, if the question is if people are like openly LGBTQ in a mosque, I have no idea. I have no idea what the explanation there would be. But they are on the rise. They're in a lot of countries now right now, the LGBTQ mosques. Grifters all shilling for Islam now. Avalanche of jizya. Yeah, it's almost all the Dawa guys now are narcissists. I mean, like real narcissists, not just, oh, this guy's a little self-centered. I mean, actual narcissists. And the people, their famous reverts that are emerging are grifters and scam artists. So now at the people who are being propped up as far as who you see on social media, they're the Dawa guys who are a bunch of narcissists, and their famous reverts who are a bunch of con artists. Muslims of the world, there's no ill will in this. This is not going to go well for you. I'm looking at this thinking this is absolutely hilarious. I want more narcissists, and I want their narcissism to be fueled, because I mean, I regard this as obvious. Some people have difficulty thinking one or two moves in front of them. If the people now who are becoming the champions of Dawah in your community are narcissists, in other words, they starve for attention and clicks and views and all that. They want the entire world, the entire Muslim world praising them. They want the attention for themselves. Every situation that arises, they view as a way to get more attention for themselves. They want more attention for themselves. So, a war broke out. Ooh, I can put myself in this situation. It's going to be more attention for myself. Once you have those guys, just do some basic math. Follow the trajectory. If the trajectory continues as it is, let's suppose you have 5 narcissists who are the big names in Dawah. Who's the young generation who's deciding what to do with their lives in Dawah? People who are drawn to Dawah, what are they going to do? These are their role models. Who's going to be going after this? Budding narcissists. And what happens when you have 10, 20, 30 Dawah guys? They're all complete narcissists who are in it for attention. Are those guys going to want to share the spotlight with other Dawah guys? No. Each one of them is a narcissist. He's going to want all the attention for himself. And that inevitably leads to conflict. All those Dawah guys who are narcissists are going to start attacking all the other Dawah guys who are narcissists, because each one of them wants all the attention for himself. And that, we've already seen it happen. We've already seen it starting. We call it the Dawah Wars. But the Dawah Wars are just getting started. The Dawah Wars are just getting started. You've got all these complete grifters and scam artists becoming your new famous reverts. That is not going to last. Guys, you are completely set up for a collapse here. I'm telling you as a critic, but an honest critic. I find this absolutely hilarious. I don't see what you can possibly do about it. But I'm still honest enough with you because you are human beings, and I want the best for you. But I also believe that what's best for you is for your religion to collapse. But I mean, I'll sit here and tell you what is obvious, because it's important to note. It's important for people to realize what happens in these situations, because it's happening everywhere. It's not just happening in Islam. That's going to happen everywhere. The same thing's going to happen everywhere. And the best way to not be manipulated is not to expose the manipulator or to convince the manipulator that he shouldn't be manipulating people. The best way to stop a manipulator is to be what's called a hard target. You don't fall for the manipulation. So at the end of the day, I want Muslims to not fall for manipulation. I think that's good for you. And so when I see what's going to happen and how you're going to be manipulated and how you're ending up with all these narcissists and grifters taking over your community, I'll tell you, because at the end of the day, I want you to be the sort of person who doesn't fall for this nonsense. But that's all I can do is warn you. And then, well, that's not all I can do. Right now, all I can do is warn you. And then a few years from now, when you see it all happen, then I can come back and say, I told you so. I saw Insta video. It said squatting and peeing won't lead to prostate cancer. Study says sitting and peeing will not store any urine in the penis and so won't lead to prostate cancer. Y'all men need to try. Yeah. And I'll just say it again. These guys were not taught. Muhammad was not talking about sitting on a toilet. He was talking about actually squatting to pee. And so now that would be the claim. You see, it's going to save you from prostate cancer. No, it won't. My goodness. Modelicious. Talcum X converted. Well, it is a pretty racist religion already. YouTube censorship. I see the appeal. Aloha snack bar. Yeah, that is an interesting kind of side note that you've got Muhammad. So you've got Muhammad, the whitest prophet in all of history. Muhammad, the whitest prophet of all in all of history, guy who bought, owned, sold, and traded black African slaves, and Shaun King, the Black Lives Matter hero, chose Muhammad. He chose Muhammad, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a couple more super chats, but let's go ahead and take a peek at some of the names. So this is T. Fisher King. I haven't looked at these. I saw that he's starting off a thread with some of the names. I have not gone through. So I've seen them. I've seen some of them circulating on there. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I had not seen what people have responded to. But yeah, I'm guessing they're going to come up with some good ones. Shaun King, official Muslim name Depot. Please keep them coming. So far, you geniuses have named him. Lou Alabaster becomes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So if you guys don't know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, possibly the best NBA center of all time. His real name was Lou Alcindor, and he converted to Islam and became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So that gets changed to Lou Alabaster becomes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We've got Ramadan Kareem, should be Ramadan Cream, because he's white. Jaleel White, so that's Urkel. So I guess that's just the name there. Ali Scammy, and Louis Fair, because he's white. Akan, but he's also Khan. See, that one's good because you got Fair and Akan in there. Let's see what we got here. Sharif Absurd Rahim. Oh, Louis Fraudicon. That's good. Louis Fraudicon. Hakeem O'Lion one. Eliar Muhammad. Oh, Eliar Muhammad. Oh, instead of Elijah Muhammad. Some of these take me a few seconds to actually get. So instead of Elijah Muhammad, Eliar Muhammad, and Hakeem O'Lion one. Someone called him Osama bin Robin, and I haven't been the same since. Also, Yasser Arafat. These are awesome. I also like the gifts he's responding with. These are good. Someone said Muhammad Olay, so I guess that's a play on oil of Olay. Sorry, I can't give proper credit. He said I saw that one too. Malcolm Nance retweeted you. Lol, I noticed. Scamuel El Shabazz. Scammy Al Scammy. Let's see. Like, catch me if you can, but it'll be cash at me if you can. Yeah, catch me if you can. Cash at me if you can. Let's see. You grift Islam. Just saw Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden. Oh, no, you didn't. Yasser Arafat. Martin Luther King. Hey, talking about Muslim names here. So it looks like Osama bin Laden is the one that's going to stay. Mehdi has stolen. I wonder how many of these there are. Oh, they're still going. I guess Talcum X still fits, doesn't it? Talcum X still fits. My husband would like to propose Shilhan Omar. So instead of Ilhan Omar, Shilhan Omar. Has the dishonorable Elijah Muhammad been taken? I'm partial to Talcum X. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be Osama bin Laden, or people are just going to stick with Talcum X for our good, super trustworthy friend. Let's see. The irony of Jesus was a Muslim is they call him Isa when it should be Yusha. It's actually Yasu in Arabic for Yeshua. No one knows why Jesus is called Isa. That's true. They have no idea. If you look up Muslim explanations, they have no idea. Some say it's a special Arabic name it's a special name that Jesus has, like with Allah. He's called Isa. Some say it's a poetic thing meant to be a parallel with Musa. So you got the parallel there, Musa and Isa, Musa and Isa. The two I find most plausible is one, that it's something that comes through another language. So it's like starts off as like Jesus and then goes through something else and then ends up in Arabic as Isa. Another is that, keep in mind, Muhammad's not interacting with a lot of Christians. He is interacting with Jews. And one claim is that the Jews the Jews that Muhammad would have interacted with early on may have called Jesus Isa as a derogatory way of referring to him as Esau. So Isa is Arabic for Esau. And Jews can use calling someone Esau as an insult because those became the enemies of the Jews, the Edomites. But again, no one knows. So we've got that. D-Wood, the more I watch you, the more I realize you're a great tactician. Their narcissism will destroy them and implode Dawa from within. They will eat their own. I'm glad you're on our side. Oh yeah, guys, if you want to destroy an ideology, just stack the entire deck with narcissists. Give little nudges here and there so that they end up with replace all the leaders of that ideology with narcissists and watch then you can sit back. You don't have to do anything. Sit back and watch. They will implode it for you. They will destroy it from within for you. Do you not belong to a specific denomination because you focus on apologetics for mere Christianity or for some other reason? Care to elaborate? It's pretty simple. As much as I run my mouth, and if you've been watching for a while, you've seen this over and over again. David, what are your thoughts on this? David, what are your thoughts on Calvinism and Arminianism and so on? I usually say, how would I know? How would I know? It's basically, I don't trust myself on a conclusion until I've studied something to gain some basic competence. I will if I see, like, everyone I respect is on one main side of an issue, right? Like if there's some issue I haven't studied it, but like every person whose intellect I respect is on like one side of the issue, or if it's like 98% on one side, I say, okay, this is pretty clear what happens when you investigate this issue. If it's an issue where, hey, there's a bunch of guys I like and respect over here, there's a bunch of guys I like and respect over here, and they're on opposite sides, and I can at least understand some of their basic reasons, and I'm like, these guys actually have a point with that argument, and these guys over here actually have a point with their argument. There are tons of issues like that in Christianity. We have very smart, very well-educated, very competent people on completely different sides of an issue. And when I look at that, I'm like, well, okay, if I don't know much about the issue, I'm definitely not going to pick a side. I'm not going to pick a side, and then let alone like enter into a denomination that chooses that side when I haven't looked into it. And so it's kind of an issue where I sit back and think, okay, if all these smart people are coming to these very different conclusions and I haven't looked into this, what are the odds that I would actually, if I spent some time investigating this, that I would say, oh, I've got the case cracker here to prove that this position is right. Well, it's possible. It's possible that I would be the genius who actually solves the dispute. But I look at that and I go, if you have all these other guys studying this and very few people who deal with the stuff that I'm doing, I should probably be focusing on the stuff that I'm doing, and let everyone else figure that stuff out. And if anyone ever comes out with a really knockdown slam dunk argument, then I would take a side. So yeah, this is not, again, I'm not saying other people should not join specific denominations and so on. I'm just saying, me personally, again, I became Christian. I was on my own in a cell when I became a Christian. For a good while, I was pretty much on my own. I'm just reading Christian books and reading the Bible on my own. Then I start going to church, but I'm going to, I'm going to different church services. This is all in prison. I'm going to different church services with different denominations. And I don't know. Lots of people have some desire to like pick a side. And there are certain issues where I have to do that. Like I pick, okay, I believe in God. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I believe that Jesus died on the cross for sins and rose from the dead. I believe these things. There are all these other issues where I just have no desire to pick a side. I don't feel like I need to. I can sit there and say, okay, you've got your position, you've got your position, you've got your position. I don't know who's right, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. That's kind of how I am. Not saying anyone else should be anything remotely similar to that, but you're asking about me. Shaun King. Nice. Shaun King is the long lost Sir Whitemeat. If anyone's new here, that's Zucker Nike was talking, and he's just spouting complete nonsense, but he knows his audience doesn't know any better, and he starts talking about the great scholar Sir Whitemeat. There is no Sir Whitemeat. But he's talking about the great scholar Sir Whitemeat, and we've always been looking for Sir Whitemeat. And apparently, yeah, that could, maybe Shaun King is the long lost Sir Whitemeat. Why you stuttering? Is $2 enough to get YouTube promo? Well, you just did. If this is at Fish Resurrection, what's that, a channel? What is that, a channel there? Why you stuttering? Seed of Iblis. Hey, Dizzle. Asking if you're aware of the hip-hop artist Immortal Technique. No. I recently noticed that he's preaching a lot of Islamic propaganda on his socials. Just wondering if you'd be interested in tackling that. It's kind of hard to respond to. Well, I mean, if he's posting content that you can read and so on, it's kind of difficult if he's putting it in music or something like that, because then you got copyright issues if you tried to play it and discuss it. But if he's, I mean, you could tell him he could join us live if he wants to talk about this stuff. Be happy to have a discussion with him. But send me a link. You actually can't post links in the comments, but you can tell me where to find it. I'd be fine going through some of his claims. Again, if they're like text, if he's posting messages and so on. Is the prophet of apostate with us today? Obviously not. What do you think? I got him locked in my closet or something like that. Yusuf is fraud, like Cat Stevens. Oh, like Yusuf Ismail is fraud. Why Saitama for a profile pic? Is he Jibreel? No, that was just, I've told this before, but this was years ago, and my oldest son, he was still pretty young, so this is back when One Punch Man came out, and I had watched a bunch of shows with my second oldest son, but I really just had completely different tastes from what my oldest son was interested in. Like, I'm not interested in anime or any of that stuff, or like most cartoons and things. So he came up and he said, hey, you want to watch this show called One Punch Man with me? And it was mainly just, oh, okay, I don't normally watch anything with him, so I need to, even if I know I'm not going to like this. I said, oh yeah, what's it about? And he said, it's about this guy who's so powerful he can destroy anything with one punch. And I just thought, that is going to be the most boring, ridiculously boring show I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there's a reason Superman has to have kryptonite. You can't have someone that's just massively OP and can just destroy everyone with no problem. It leads to a boring show. But anyway, it turned out that's kind of the joke. Like, he's miserable and depressed and has lost all feeling because he has no competition. And so anyway, so I watched it. I could tell within the first couple minutes of the show that I loved it. And I don't know. That's just when I was picking my profile pick back then, and then roll with that. And then here, why did God create doubt by using evolution? Well, let's think about this. And this is actually a perfect example, because I can think on every different side of an issue, and lots of issues. And it's part of the reason I don't take sides on lots of things anymore unless I really, really study them. It's because over time I've held almost every position on various things. So I've been an atheistic evolutionist, a theistic evolutionist, and a young Earth creationist, an old Earth creationist. I've been every position on certain issues. And it's just, okay, well, before I take a position on this, I really, 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 really need to study. But let's just go from the perspective of theistic evolution. So here the assumption would be that God is creating through evolution, but that this is causing doubt. And there's a reason it would cause doubt. If God is going to create, there are tons of different ways that God can create, right? God could create every living thing as it is right now. He could create one living thing and make everything else come from that. He could create two living things and make everything come from that. He could create 10 different kinds of living things separately and make things come from. There are endless ways that God could create. If you were going to get life without God, without a creator, there's kind of one game in town. You have to start from something simple that's basically an accident, but which goes through various processes and becomes more advanced. So the question would be, again, granting certain assumptions that we're starting with. If God's going to create through evolution, when he could create in any number of ways, why is he going to create in the way that would mimic how things would be without a creator? In other words, wouldn't that be a doubt? So God could create in a ton of different ways that would leave no doubt about whether it's created or not. But there's one way, if he creates, starting off very simple things and then they get more advanced over time. But that would be the only possible way that you could get life start without intelligence. And so why would God create in a way, even using intelligence, but it kind of parallels the way that you could get it without God? So again, I'm not saying that is correct. I'm saying granting your initial assumptions on what the case is here. Then the question would be, why would God want people to be able to doubt? Like, in other words, why would God want people to have a way out if they want one? See what I'm saying? Because keep in mind, even though you have people like Richard Dawkins who say, even if God wrote a message in the sky, they still wouldn't believe it. They still wouldn't believe in God. You had that Oxford chemist, Peter Atkins, who said, even if he died and woke up and was greeted by Peter at the pearly gates, he still wouldn't believe. He still wouldn't believe any of this stuff. You have people like that. But for your average person, can there be a reason why God would not want things to be indisputable, would not want you to have an indisputable basis for believing in God? Yeah, people have suggested that sort of thing. So Immanuel Kant, for example, Immanuel Kant said he had a problem with the idea of proving the existence of God. He said, if you had an actual conclusive proof that God exists, it would destroy morality. Now think about that. How would conclusive proof of the existence of God destroy morality? You can actually get some hints from the Muslim world. Look at how morality works in Islam, where everything you do or don't do is governed by fear of the consequences. So you don't do certain things because you're going to be punished. You'll be lashed for that if you do that. And then, of course, you take that same person and he moves from Afghanistan to the UK, and all of a sudden he goes completely wild because he doesn't have those same punishments to be afraid of. And the only reason he was doing the right thing was because he was scared of the consequences if he didn't. So to put this differently, suppose you're walking down the street. Suppose you're walking down the street. Suppose you're walking down the street and you find a purse filled with money and jewelry. Just walking there. Oh, here's a purse. It's filled with money and jewelry. I open up the purse. Hey, this is filled with money and jewelry. Now you have a bit of a moral decision to make. You can return. You can try to find the owner, try to contact the owner, or turn that in, turn it into a lost and found, turn it into police. You could do that, or you could just keep it. You could just keep all the money and jewelry. Or you could do the right thing. You can do the wrong thing, or you can do the right thing. When you're on your own, and you have the ability to make that decision, you are in a position, you actually have the ability to do the right thing for the right reason, and you have the ability to do the wrong thing. You can do the right thing for the right reason, or you could do the wrong thing. Suppose, I'm going to change one little thing. Suppose you're walking down the street, you find a purse filled with money and jewelry. You grab it up, you look inside, and then you turn and look, and there's a police officer standing 10 feet from you, and he's looking at you. The police officer sees you find that purse, open it up, see all the money and jewelry in there. Now, do you still have that same decision to make? Should I do the right thing for the right reason, or do the wrong thing? There's a police officer right there. So guess what? You're not going to do the wrong thing. But guess what? You're not going to do the right thing for the right reason either. You're going to do the right thing, which is hand over the purse that you just found. It's not going to be because you've made this moral decision to do the right thing. You're going to be doing the right thing because there's a police officer standing there who's going to punish you if you don't do the right thing. So that actually takes it out. That actually takes your ability to do the right thing for the right reason, completely takes it out of the equation. In other words, you don't even have the opportunity to be moral in that situation. You're not, the decision you make right there has nothing to do with you being moral. A criminal is going to do, an evil criminal is going to do the exact same thing that you're going to do in that situation, which is, oh, here you go, officer. I just found this. That's what you're going to do. So this is the reason. Again, this is not my position on anything that's just been said. This is a thought experiment. You asked, why would God create things in a way that allow people to doubt whether they're actually created by God? So the question is, why wouldn't God want us to have indisputable proof of his existence? Why would he want why would he want people to have doubts and say, maybe not? But think about this. If you had indisputable proof of the existence of God, so presence of God right before you, right in front of you, guess what? You'd always do the right thing. I mean, not necessarily. You could just say, you could be, I'm going to rebel anyway, and so on. Most people, if you had God in your presence watching you at all times, you're going to behave very, very differently from the way we ordinarily do. Even if you do, here's the thing, even if you're constantly doing the right thing, you're doing it because God is watching you, not because you just decided, hey, I don't want to do anything wrong. Hey, here's God who could punish me if I do the wrong thing. So you're going to be doing the right thing, but not for the right reason. Not because it's the right thing to do. You're going to be doing it because there's a cosmic police officer standing over you at every second of the day. So it's just an interesting situation where if you want to have genuine moral freedom, the ability to do the right thing for the right reason, or to misuse that freedom and to do the wrong thing, you need a kind of like epistemic distance between you and God. You need to have some ability to say, I could get away with this. And if you look back, so look at the story in Genesis, Garden of Eden. They didn't seem to understand God as this omnipresent being. God would actually show up and walk among them. And you think about why. They don't understand. They think he's someone they could hide from. They don't think of God as this omnipresent being, all-knowing, omnipresent, all-powerful. They're not thinking of it. They're not thinking of God like that. God appears to them as someone walking among them. Why? Well, guess what? Then God can walk away, and he actually leaves you with a real decision. And you wouldn't decide that way if he's standing right there, standing over you. But then they think they can actually hide what, we can hide we can hide this. Maybe we can get away with this or something like that. So it seems like it's built into Christianity that it's actually important for God to let us make some of our own decisions. I think it's all created. I mean, going down this line, it would seem to be we're created in the image of God, and we're not just supposed to be these mindless drones who just sit back obeying. We're supposed to be thinking through this and wrestling with issues and coming to conclusions and so on. And so this could raise various questions like, what kind of moral freedom would you have actually in the presence of God? And you could have different perspectives on this, but I'm not convinced that you do have this kind of moral freedom in the presence of God. In other words, your will would be massively overpowered by the presence of God. So think about this. You have two of the highest goods that you could possibly have. So one, you could just call knowing God. That is the highest good. Knowing God, that is the greatest thing that you can have. But you can have another good, which is living a moral life, doing the right thing for the right reason. That's another great good. Suppose you can't actually have those things together. One would completely overpower the other. In other words, actually knowing God would overpower your ability to do the right thing for the right reason and would kind of do away with your ability to do the wrong thing. Well, if you wanted a world where you have these two great goods, it would need to be two different stages, right? So there's one stage where there's kind of a distance between you and God, and you have moral freedom. And there's another stage where you don't have the same degree of moral freedom, but you actually know God. And that turns out to be kind of like what we have right now. So anyway, you could obviously go into much more detail on this. And again, I'm not even affirming any specific position here, but given the assumptions that come from your question, I can see reasons why God would create in a way that would allow people to doubt God, to give them a little escape route if they don't want to obey. In other words, it's set up so that you don't have to obey God if you don't want to. All right, couple more. Let's see. Couple more and I will cut out. Sarah says, Shaun Sheikh was a Palestinian. King equals Zionist psyop. Shaun Sheikh was a Palestinian. And we know because Sarah from Al-Aqsa TV. Hey, that would be funny if Sarah from Al-Aqsa TV. I remember Shaun. Yes, I confirm his story. Silver lining, maybe he'll accidentally fall off a Palestinian roof or prove how peaceful the most peaceful religion is, like everyone else who isn't Muslim or Muslim enough. I don't want any harm to happen to him. I do want him to stop the grifting schemes and so on. And if this is one, he needs to stop it. But it's not going to change the problem that Islam is lots of Muslims are going to keep falling for this. It's all connected to the avalanche of apostasy. So for many, many, many years, the apostasy rate is basically 0%. And if it's not actually 0%, it looks like it's 0% because people who leave Islam are not coming out saying that they left Islam. All of a sudden, that goes from roughly 0% to 24% in a very short amount of time. You're looking at this from a Muslim perspective. If we just went from 0% to 24% apostasy rate, what are things like 10 years from now? 45%, 50% apostasy rate? We cannot do this. We have to do something right now. And so when you get an Andrew Tate or a Sneeko or a Shaun King, they might not have been your top picks for being the champions, future champions of Islam. But by golly, if they have a following, you'll cling to anything. And what this means is because of desperation, lots of Muslims around the world are going to cling to anyone who has a following because they're worried about the apostasy rates in Islam. And they're worried about their kids and so on. And they have nothing else to cling to. You've got nothing else. What else are you going to go? What else are you going to go to? You got your Dawa guys who are all narcissists, and you've got grifters who are converting, and you have nothing else to cling to in Islam. So you're going to see this again. I mean, it'll be a month or two from now. You'll have some other social media guy. I've converted to Islam too. Can David Wood disavow Dune? I heard it's very Islamophobic. I don't know. There's a lot of Islamic elements in there. I wouldn't call it Islamophobic. Pretty banging movie. It's pretty good. Alan said, most surrounded by naked men. Yeah, Muhammad did like his naked men. And let's see. Oh, that would be a funny video from Bo Rudder here. Shaun King, whiter than Muhammad. It would be going through the Muslim sources on Muhammad and showing how white he was, and then showing Shaun King, and it'd be like, hey, Shaun King is basically trying to make his case that he's not as white as Muhammad, because he wants to claim that he had a black father. Well, so he wouldn't be as white as Muhammad. But you could actually, we could look at a picture and then the descriptions of Muhammad and see who's right. Samuel Tawheed, she was 9 years old, a song on my channel. She was 9 years old. And funny here, 1 John 5:20 proves Jesus is the only true God and he gives eternal life in John 17:3. Thoughts on Destiny's reaction to a recent talk between Hamas Piker and he said Hamas Piker instead of and Ryan Grimm. I have no thoughts on that because I did not see it. Is it important? We'll look it up real quick. What I'm looking up is for how long the video is, because if I look at that and it says it's 10 hours, then no. If I look at it and it says it's 15 minutes, Destiny, Piker, Ryan, Grimm. Oh my goodness, that 2 hours, guys. You'd have to like, is there a good section? Because I'm not terribly interested in any of these guys. Oh, Hassan's new insane October 7th take. So has he got some new crazy view and it makes Destiny snap? Okay. I might need to look at some timestamps because there might be an interesting, I can't imagine a situation where I would watch an entire 2 hours of guys I'm not really interested in. But I might look for, if he's got some insane new theory, I might want to check that out. That might be interesting. All right, everyone. We're all wrapped up here. Did want to, again, it was a special request just to give people a basic idea as the news. I don't think it's going to make, I don't think that Shaun King's conversion is going to make the splash that he was hoping it was going to make. I don't think it's going to be to get the same attention, not nearly the same attention as Andrew Tate, or even as much as Sneeko. What's interesting is if the Muslim community is finally catching on that you've got this same pattern over and over again. You got these guys who are extremely controversial for one reason or another. They get kicked off of social media and suddenly, hey, we're Muslims now. I think people might be catching on to that. Muslims might be catching on. Not all Muslims, but some Muslims might be catching on. Political Philosophy Club here says, Dr. David, tell us if you can read the story of Prophet Lot and his daughters in Bible Genesis 20. What for? I was just looking at some of the comments here. Why is that Political Philosophy Club? Why should we read that? Whoa! Hey, Political Philosophy Club, you're a Muslim, aren't you? I just noticed what you actually said. How did I know that? Hey, Political Philosophy Club, how did I know you're a Muslim? Any idea how I knew you're a Muslim? I knew you're a Muslim because you said Prophet Lot. Lot's not a prophet in the Bible. He's a prophet in Islam, which is why you guys say, oh, how could you say this about a prophet? So multiple issues here. One, we don't view prophets We don't, one, so issue one, Lot's not a prophet in the Bible. He's Abraham's nephew. That's it. Two, we don't view prophets as these guys who are faultless or anything. In fact, they're not that according to Islam. According to Islam, Jesus is the only sinless one. You look at the things your prophet did, having sex with a 9-year-old girl and taking the wife of his own adopted son, all the things he was doing. I mean, if you made a list of the worst possible things a person could do, your prophet did a ton of those things. So it's actually not in your interest to go around saying, oh, but the Bible says that prophet did that bad thing. Yeah, prophets in the Bible. You have a lot of prophets in the Bible who are basically misfits. And they do all kinds of messed up things. And God uses them anyway and corrects them and rebukes them. I mean, look at Jonah. God says, hey, go preach to the people of Nineveh. Jonah bolts in the other direction. This guy doesn't want to listen at all. He hates people. He doesn't want people to repent. This is a prophet of God. So you look at, so what are you going to look at that and say, oh, how could a prophet be like that? But notice Jonah is actually a prophet. Lot isn't. And if you guys would not be obsessed with just, oh, let's find something perverted in the Bible so we can point it out. Your God and your prophet affirm the inspiration and the preservation and the authority of the Torah. Genesis is the first book of the Torah. I know you probably believe, been corrupted later, not what your God, not what your prophet believed. That's a modern Muslim myth. So you want to make fun of things that your God and your prophet affirmed as the word of God. But if you want to go through the story is actually pretty simple. God announces that he's going to destroy these cities. He protects Lot's family. Gets them out of there. And Lot ends up getting out of there with his 2 daughters. They go up and they hide. But keep in mind, they see things being destroyed. They think God has wiped out the world and that they have to start over. So Lot's daughters think the world, God has destroyed the world and they have to repopulate the world. They know their dad isn't going to reproduce with them. So they say, we have to get the guy drunk. We have to get him drunk to do this because it's not going to work. So they get pregnant. And what happens after that? The descendants of the 2 daughters become the enemies of the Jews. So their descendants become the Moabites and the Ammonites. And so the takeaway is, hey, you Moabites and Ammonites, what you guys are, you are the result of people not understanding and not trusting God and trying to figure things out for themselves and trying to do things their own way. And you guys are like the offspring of an incestuous relationship of people who didn't trust God and tried to do things their own way. Because that's the way it happened, right? Abraham says, hey, Lot, where do you want to go? Take your pick of the land. Lot says, oh, I'm picking this best stuff. Abraham, okay, I trust God to take care of things. Lot goes, where does Lot go? He goes in some messed up places with some messed up people. God's going to destroy those people. And Lot is still, the whole pattern of Lot is trying to figure out things on his own and try to do things in the way that make most sense to him and completely not trusting in God. And so how in the name of common sense do you look at that? One, prophets aren't these faultless, sinless people in the Bible. So prophets do really messed up stuff. 2, Lot's not a prophet. 3, the Bible doesn't cover up when people do things like this. The Bible shines a light on it. Look at what this guy did. Does that over and over and over again. You in Islam, you have the view that no, you're supposed to lie about that stuff and pretend these guys never did these kinds of things. No, the Bible shines a light on the things that these people did, so that we could be informed and we can be warned. You guys just cover everything up. Same thing with the Quran. You guys start ending up with differences in the Quran. What do? You burn it all, try to cover it up. Not how we do things. We expose these things. We don't pretend they never happened and so on. And then you look at the actual story. It's a story about a guy who keeps trying to come up with his own way of doing things instead of trusting in God. And the result is a bunch of people who are at war with the children of Israel. In other words, the offspring of the descendants of Abraham through Jacob. And these are the future enemies. And so your decisions are making future generations of enemies. for people of God in the future if you're making the wrong decisions. So there's tons of things in there. What would your problem be? Oh, you heard it from some guy on social media. This is how you tell the Christians, and you say, "Huh, what do you do about that story? Ha ha." They won't have an answer. Ha ha ha. Guys, these are not terribly difficult issues. Let's see. We had a couple more super chats here. 1 John 5, 10, 11, 12, and 20. Jesus is the only true God. And Chrome here says, I'm agnostic. I'm an agnostic Jew. I've studied about a few religions. You're a great ally. Don't want to disagree publicly, but would like to have a private discussion. If you're ever in VA, Virginia, I'll buy you lunch. Yeah, that actually wouldn't, I mean, I want to say, if it's a discussion about, I don't know, you're saying you're an agnostic Jew. If it, let me put it this way. There would be certain issues you'd be much better off having a discussion with someone else with, like people who, there are people who study certain issues that I'm just not terribly interested in, and I leave those issues to other people. So if it's on those issues, you could probably find someone better than me. If it's on stuff I talk about, yeah, I'd be happy to have a discussion with you sometime. So you can go ahead and contact me. Oh, and San Clay here for our Muslim friends. Lot's daughters weren't 9 years old. Obviously a fake prophet. Yeah, if he were a real prophet, if Lot were an actual prophet, those girls would have been 9 years old. And they would have been grandmas by the time they were 9 years old, according to our good friends Daniel Hakikachu and so on, where you can start and the Muslim cowboy who, hey, as long as a girl shows any sign of puberty, which can happen as early as 11 months old in cases of precocious puberty, girls are ready. Girls are ready for it. So you could be a 9-year-old grandma, according to these guys. All right, everyone. Didn't want to go terribly long. We've only been going a little over 2 hours. Glad we got to have a little discussion. But yeah, just in case, Shaun King becomes a new poster boy for Dawa. Wanted everyone to have a little bit of info because, again, if you were following certain issues on social media for the past few years, you have an idea who he is. Some of you haven't been following those issues and wouldn't have any clue what's going on. So hopefully you know who you're interacting with here. And yeah, if he starts getting thrown around as the new poster boy for Islam or for Dawa, then you have a good idea of where to go. And it's pretty funny. You can apparently just go to Twitter and start looking up what people are saying about him. But also at the same time, long term, we do want to help our Muslim friends. They are being manipulated by their religion and their shit. In other words, don't just think, hey, here's a Muslim. I disagree. He disagrees with me on all this stuff. He says all sorts of mean stuff and he wants to subjugate the world and he's just hopelessly evil, bad guy. That's a guy who's been manipulated for a long time. He's been conditioned. It's similar to like Stockholm syndrome with some of these guys. They've been conditioned to think in certain ways. And as much as you want to think, these guys are, it's just hopeless. It's just hopeless with some of these guys. No, not hopeless. And it's kind of never an option for me. It's kind of never an option for me because anything you want to say, this guy was violent, this guy was messed up. Yeah, so was I. And I got a second chance. So I want nothing but the best for any of these guys. You take your most evil, sick people in the world. You could be a Hamas terrorist up until his dying breath. I want nothing but the best for him. Keep in mind, because everyone always misunderstands this. When I say I want nothing for the best, it doesn't mean I want no consequences for anything. No, what is the best for a Hamas jihadi? The best thing for him is for him to realize it, like son of Hamas, to learn that he's wrong, to turn away from those things. And in these cases, go turn yourself in. So that's what I would want. Up until a Hamas jihadi's dying breath, I'm hoping for the best for him because I got a second chance. And I would hope these guys would change their minds, realize what they're doing, turn themselves in, take whatever punishments are coming at them and throw themselves at the mercy of the people they have wronged. All right, everyone. So again, no ill will towards Shaun King or any of these other guys beyond the fact that they are some obvious grifters. Hope that they turn away from that. But if they don't, and manipulators usually don't, manipulators usually will not willingly stop manipulating. They only stop manipulating when manipulation stops working. So, one, everyone here, all of you who are watching, you need to become what are called hard targets. Hard targets, meaning a manipulator starts messing around with you and realizes this is not working. This person knows my tricks and they're not working on this person. You want to become a hard target and you want to help other people become hard targets. And that, I am sad to say, is the only hope I see for the future as far as it depends on us. As far as things we're doing in this world, there is so much manipulation and deception coming at us from every single possible direction, constantly, all day, every day. I do not see any way forward for civilization apart from people actually catching on to this and becoming hard targets. If we don't, we are, as the French say, les doomed. Catch y'all next time.